What's the point of you going through what you're going through or what you have been through if you don't share that and the lessons from that so that somebody else can learn, or that their path is a bit easier, or that there's less hurdles for them, or they can get out of the rut that they are in?
Welcome everybody to another Digital Report podcast. And on today's episode, I'm super excited to bring you an amazing speaker, dear friend, Derek Mills. And let me just share a bit about Derek. So Derek, fabulous guy. He was born in Birmingham to Jamaican immigrants. He overcame stuttering at the age of 13 after his mother's passing. He's now a wealth management expert and a coach to entrepreneurs and multimillionaires. He's an international keynote speaker on 4 continents. He's worked with FTSE 100 companies, business owners and global organizations. He's the author of the 10-Second Philosophy, which is by Hay House. He's an expert in the movie Think, which is based on Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he's the founder of the Daily Standards, which is a unique approach which accelerates personal and business success. So Derek, firstly, welcome. And thank you for taking the time out to do this podcast with me.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a while.
It's been a while, definitely. And like with these podcasts, the first question I usually open up with is, what is Rapport to you?
Well, so Rapport is something that I realized in many years ago, as a child even, now that I think back, is something that I'm always taking part in. That kind of communication, one person to another, which was more than just the words we were saying. It was about, for me, and it was then and it is now, about how I can understand someone at a really deep level and connect with them at a really deep level, whilst at the same time maintaining my own integrity and sense of my true self. So Rapport is around that real deep connection and understanding of another's presence, energy, intentions, even without the spoken word. I'm seeing some of this in martial arts, with Tai Chi and other things. I'm about to realize you've done a lot of that, haven't you? Yeah,
That's right.
Back from years ago. But we also see it in a business meeting. So it's around how do we connect with other people, because there is always a connection. The question is it a 0 or 0.1? Or on a scale of 1 to 10, is it a 10? And what does that mean? So the Rapport is the connection, and this is the understanding of the other person. So in summary, it's about connecting, our connection with other people, and our ability to understand them and their position and their feelings and their energy, whilst retaining our own integrity.
Yes, yeah. No, fabulous. I mean, I want you to, in line with that, I remember you did a talk at the Mind Body Spirit show many years ago. Mm-hmm. And I was there, I was in the audience, and you came on stage, and before you started the presentation, you deliberately started stuttering and create this pause. And I did feel, because I didn't know your history at the time, and you shared it, and I thought, what's going on? And then you snapped out of it and then shared your experience, and instantly there was like this connection with the audience, and I was like blown away. I mean, share a bit about that. Like, what, how did you evolve from that?
Yeah, because what I understand as a speaker is that it's about the audience. It's not about you. It's about the audience. And when you're in front of an audience or with an audience, there has to be some kind of intention. What's the purpose? It's like, you used to go to the cinema and you see a movie and you come out, you don't hate it, you don't like it, but it does nothing for you. And someone asks you the next week what it was all about, you'd go, can't remember the plot or who starred in it. Yeah. There was 0, so that you come out neutral the same way you walked in. So if when I speak in front of an audience, it's about, there has to be a difference for you and me being in that room together. There has to be a positive benefit. Otherwise, what are we doing here? Yeah, a positive benefit. So I start from that perspective, and part of it is to have people using a metaphor, which all the stuttering is, whilst it was real in my life as a child, it's a metaphor to say, we're all stuck at times. We can all be stuck. And having trauma and in difficult places, but stuck. But if we can follow through on some core principles, we can become unstuck. So when I began my talk, and I've done it, different stages around the world by stuttering, people are feeling something for you, a discomfort that people have told me in the past. In some cases, feeling uncomfortable, feeling sorry for you, feeling empathy, because that's what I want my audience to know, that I have that for you as well, which is why I'm here. I feel that for you. So what I'm going to do now is step away from that position and then start sharing about how do you come unstuck. If you were stuck, how do you become unstuck in your life, money, relationships, friendships, health, business, the whole thing. So it's really important to me to say, let's get some rapport here. And I was told many, many years ago, I don't know, blimey, 20 plus years ago, that a great way to gain rapport with someone is to tell a story. And because I know I go into stories, when I watch a film, there's a story there. And the first scene grabs you, doesn't it? And if you see a trailer, it grabs you, because to get into a story, you've got to have someone interested in the protagonist or the first early words that they're sharing. So I also share that stuttering to get your attention, to say, you may have come for something. This guy's a professional speaker, speaks over the world. Here he's in front of me, stuttering. Are you paying attention? Now, I've got your attention. Where are we going with this? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, definitely. Because you said that kind of uncomfortable feeling. That I felt that when you did that originally.
Yeah.
I kind of did that accidentally once, where I was invited to have a little conversation with a small group of people, and I was telling them that, like, this is the first time I'm speaking. So if there's an awkward silence, like that one. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And everyone just like connected with that, and that opened up to everything else. And it was accidental.
So you got me, and I already know you.
So no, that's fantastic. And how are you then? How are you using that adaptability when you're addressing audiences around the world? Because you've spoken in 4 different continents. So how did you adjust that approach to the audience that was there?
Yeah, I think a funny thing that happened once was I've spoken all over the place now, and I remember I was speaking in Jakarta. I did 2 gigs in Indonesia, Jakarta, and then a few days in Bali. Bali was nice because they one day speaking, 4 days in Bali. So I was in Jakarta, and there was a translator. I've spoken at places like the $1 Million Round Table, where you send them your script in advance. They've got the translators in the booths, people with their headphones on. But this wasn't one of those. It was a couple of thousand people that essentially didn't speak English in the main. So they had to my right, on the about 10 feet away from me, a translator. And to this day, I don't know how he translated.
Right.
Translated stuttering, but it did a good job, because the audience, just kind of looking at them, just by looking at them, you kind of realize that they're like looking at me. They could hear me stuttering. He was whatever he was doing, he was translating stuttering, and then they were concerned, and then looking forward and seeing what would happen next. And then it doesn't last long. I let them off the hook. I step stage left to say, that's the way I used to be. When I couldn't speak and I was stuck. I wasn't just stuck with my speech. I was stuck emotionally. I was stuck mentally. I was stuck financially for many, many years. And I'm really here to share with you that no matter how you're stuck or for how long you're stuck, everything can change. Because when we change, everything can change for us. And that's how I begin. So it doesn't matter what the language is. People get stuttering, which is really, I've found that so powerful. South Africa, India, America, obviously, but non-English countries as their main language, it didn't matter, JT, because they got it. And then with the translator or the headphones translation to the booths, everybody goes, yeah, I got that. Okay, so if this guy here, this is why I share all of my story, warts and all, the depression, when I would cry, when I broke down, all those things, because I'm thinking, I don't want to be a speaker that just speaks on the stage without giving my all. Because what I want for my audience is, please somehow wake up and give your all in your life. So I'm going to give you all in my life. Now, this is where I'd stuttered. Here's what got us humiliated. Here's where this person embarrassed me. Here's where I was broke. Here's when that house was repossessed. Here's when the bailiffs were in the house because I couldn't pay the council tax. So I need you to know we can all have those different stories and places where we're stuck, but we can become unstuck. Now we have rapport. So I'm not some speaker on a platform pontificating about how amazing I am and follow my ideas and I'm perfect and always have been. That's the opposite of me. And that's why I do that. And that's why I share my stories. People say to me, I can't believe you shared that or that you said that. You're so open. I'm like, well, what's the point of me going through all that stuff? Yes. If years later I don't share it so it can help somebody else. And I'll challenge anyone listening or watching this now to go, what's the point of you going through what you're going through or what you have been through if you don't share that and the lessons from that so that somebody else can learn, or that their path is a bit easier, or that there's less hurdles for them, or they can get out of the rut that they are in.
Yeah.
So I don't really, it's a weird thing. I'm now just realizing this, that it's not about me being a speaker. It's about, almost like a facilitator. Can I help you to become unstuck? Can I help you to see your potential and to be real? So to do that, we have to have rapport with people. We have to go where they are or get them to join us where we are.
Yes.
Now we go on a journey together.
That's so powerful, that is, because I remember you sharing that in the past as well, about actually sharing your experience, because that's like, we can't really tell people to do anything, right? But we can share our experience and our version of it and what we went through. Yes. And, I remember in the past you sharing that as well. And I thought that's so profound and powerful, because if you share your experience of something and your understanding of it, you're not projecting, you're not, you're putting your own rubbish out there, but you're just saying, that's what happened to me. That, that's what I learned from it. If it's useful, take it. And I know we're martial arts fans, so we got that little Bruce Lee philosophy going on about, take what's useful and discard what's not, right?
So indeed, and that's it. So I remember that little scene in the film, that see the finger,
yes,
pointing to the stars, focus on the finger and miss all the heavenly glory. Yes. And oftentimes we focus on little things in our life, a goal that you need to hit that month, a financial number, a target, because the world is primarily goal driven, especially in the business world, and you focus on that one thing. And you miss all the glory of the relationships and the love and the care and the time where you could have made a difference or had an amazing time with because sometimes with some people, as it was for me in the early days, you miss the time with your loved ones because you focused on the finger and you missed all the heavenly glory.
Yeah. Wow. That's an insight there in itself, right? And do you know what I'm fascinated about also is that, I remember you sharing about how hard you were working, and you was so focused on work. And you had a moment when your book came about where you were sitting in the office, and I think the caretaker or something said, "You're still here." Yeah. Do you want to share a bit about that? Because it's so how you gone from there to working with all these FTSE 100 companies, kind of thing.
Yeah, it is because I believe we have to share our story. I know other people do things in a different way, but this is my way of doing it because that's what comes up for me. So there was this time where almost 20 years ago now, when I look back, when I started speaking, it was like just 6 years ago. I know it's almost 20 years ago, where I was just paying the bills, had been broke, got myself out of debt. I was depressed. I didn't go for the diagnosis to the doctors, but when you know, and working all the hours God sent me, weekends, evenings, not seeing my family. When I was in the office, I was always thinking, what's Jerry and my wife and the kids, what are they doing right now? And they're little kids. And when I was at home, JT, the tragedy was I wasn't present with them either. I was thinking, what client and we're going to get that business from? And what do I need to do? Where do I need to drive tomorrow to try and convince someone to buy a product? It's like trapped. I was trapped in that place. And that's why one night when it was about 9:45 in the evening, I was still at the old office where the security guard came in to lock up, and I just said to him, just give me 10 more minutes. And then he walks away, and I'm shuffling bits of paper. Who I call tomorrow? Where do I need to drive to get someone to do a bit of business with someone just to earn cash flow? I wasn't even thinking profit. I was thinking just cash flow. So I shuffled around. 10 minutes later, he came back and he said to me, you ready to go now? I said, just give me 2 more minutes. And he just looked at me, it's kind of, approaching 10 o'clock. And he said, what time did you get in this morning? I just kind of said, well, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. And he wandered off to give me some more time. But in that moment, I stood there, I realized JT had got to the office at 8 o'clock. I've been up since about 6:30 or so, on the road for around 7:15. And I've been doing this every day and missing my children when they were younger, when they were asleep in their beds, and getting home right through the week when they're already gone to bed. And at weekends that I've been seeing clients or trying to see clients driving from Salisbury to Northumberland to Newcastle, Brighton, anywhere at all to see clients to get some business. And a Sunday, if you'd let me. And I was missing all that heavenly glory, the time with my kids and my wife. And I was depressed, and I was just about, balancing financially. And I realized in that moment, I had this kind of this epiphany, so that you can describe it, is a sense of clarity that this is not my life. Because if you're living that kind of life, we need to recognize this is not your life.
Wow.
It's an experience that you're going through, but this is not your life. And I realized that this isn't my life. I'm not meant to be doing this. And I said in that moment, many things came through me. That was, if I'm going to live just one more day on the planet, I'm going to do it as me. Because hitherto, I've not been doing it as me. I've been listening to other people, do this, do that, set your goals, do that, try that plan, try this program, listen to that thing. And over all of that time, I was still depressed and broke, including Tony Robbins, including all that stuff that I listened to. There I was, still depressed and broke in my 30s. So I realized that, that what I've been doing, setting all these goals since my 20s, hadn't worked out for me, that I was still broken and depressed. And I realized that that's got to change. What came out of me was a realization, instead of having goals linked to the future and attaching my happiness to that future, I would be my authentic self today and live by my truth today, and instead set daily standards for how I would be today. What are the criteria I would not go beyond or go below? What are the rules I would live by? What are the qualities that I would accept in my life and would not accept in my life? What are the levels I would not go below or would not accept? What are the levels, qualities, rules, basis, criteria for my living? Wow. And the thing that came out, and I knew this was something because it came out so fast, but it was crystal clear, even though there's lots of it. It was kind of just saying, you need to be your authentic self and live from that space. And at the same time, instead of attaching your happiness to goals that you're not achieving, and the thought came to me, JT, is that if you attach your happiness to your goals, which everybody does, I've asked on 4 continents, why do you set goals? And they say this, the weight, the money, the this, the that, the success, whatever, and you want those things so that you can be, and they say happy. Every continent, every language. So I say, here's a problem then, because if you attach your happiness to a goal, and most goals are not achieved, I don't care where you are, which country you live in, which language you speak, most people, most parts of the world do not achieve most of their goals. That's sad. So if you attach your happiness to some point in the future when you've got the said thing and you don't achieve the goal, here's a question. What happens to the happiness that you reserve from today? No, Derek. Don't get me to be happy today. Not until I've got the 2nd million, the 1st million, I've paid my debts, I'm this weight, I've got that house, this promotion, then I'll be happy. Now, they won't tell you that in exact language, although one or two actually do tell you that, but that's what they're really doing. So my realization in that moment was, I've been trying to do this for so many years, and I've kept my happiness for the achievement of all this, and I've never achieved it. I've missed on all the happiness. So this philosophy that came out of me said, it's about being happy in this moment. Yeah. It's about being true to yourself in this moment. It's about having rapport with yourself in this moment. That's what I realized. And that's the night that I changed, did a new blueprint from the whole of my life, my sense of being. And I dared to be myself one day at a time. Wow. From that point, as in not a 3-year plan or 20-year goal. Forget that. What I'm realizing about my truth and living by my daily standards, I'm going to be that today. And God, if God gives me tomorrow, I want to be that for that day. And if he gives me the next day, I'll be for that day. And I'll stick at it long enough to see what would happen if I did.
Mm.
And that's why we're here, because things happened.
That still gives me goosebumps when I hear it, man. Seriously, when I've read that and then you spoke about it and now you're sharing it again, it just gives me goosebumps because I remember having a conversation with another friend and colleague, and we were talking about rapport.
Yeah.
And he said, JT, everything in the universe is trying to be in rapport with each other.
Yes.
He said, even in this moment right now. And I remember you saying that as well.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, it's like you have to be in rapport with yourself, right? Before you can then start to really go out and impact other people, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. And you have to be in rapport to yourself. It's like Emerson said, to be true to thyself. Because if you can be true to yourself, then as surely as night follows day, you cannot then be false to any man. Yeah. So being in rapport with yourself, it's about being in truth with yourself, being in truth with yourself. Because how on earth you report, if you meet another person and they're living a complete lie, what they do, what they say, what they believe in, everything's a facade, it's not real. You might think you're in rapport with them, but clearly you're not, because that isn't them. Exactly. So it's the same thing for us. It's about being in rapport with ourselves. Now I can be happy in the present time, because happiness is a present time experience. We can't be happy in the future. You can't be happy next week. You can't be here today and be happy next week. It's a present time experience. That's what happiness is.
Wow. That's just fascinating. I mean, with the stuff you shared so far, I've seen like a common emergence of certain things. Like, earlier on you spoke about intention, and then, being present is it's one of the biggest one that comes out when it comes to building rapport. Like actually being here right now, to connect and see the person in front of them without all of that imaginary illusion that's going on and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, you've got it 100%. I know because of the works that you do. But yeah, how do you get in rapport with someone if you're not present with them?
Yes, exactly. That's that's a deep one there. Deep one. Definitely. That's how your kind of daily standards came about, because you founded that, and that was the moment that kind of, let's talk a bit about that, because I think when I came across, I think, oh wow, they're doing daily stuff as opposed to goal setting. Goal setting doesn't work in that kind of concept. The daily stuff can work, and it does work.
It does. The realization, because having set goals and listened to all the big names and some of the small names, read the books like everybody else has read, and then realized that I had been setting these goals, but how do you get to 37, 38? Setting goals since you were 21 years old, that's to be broken depressed. So no one's going to say, oh, you didn't do it for very long, you didn't try. It's like 17 years old must have been doing this, and how do you get to that place? Well, the answer is, maybe when you're in that place of authenticity, living from your truth, it's difficult to grow with external frames of reference. So maybe the frame of reference we need to have is an internal one of who are we really. When we set our standards for how we should be in our lives, then they should come from within, not from without. Yeah. If they come from within and not from without, they're real for you. If they come from within and not from without, they're better for the world that you occupy. They're better for your wife, children, brother, colleagues, clients, friends, dad. It's better for everyone around the world. When we are in that space of truth, our true self, our authentic selves, so we set our standards from there. So I remember I did a talk for a property company. It was only one of their mastermind groups that they had. And one of the guys contacted me later saying, I've got my own team, Derek, lots of people that follow me. Can you do a talk for us? In fact, it was like a webinar that he got everyone online, and I was the guest speaker on the webinar. And then and I talked about this stuff. And he'd got the book, but I don't think he'd read it properly. Right. He said, so then he sent me an email. It was an email. A few weeks later, I said, Derek, we after your talk, got a bunch of people together. We set our standards. We wrote them all down, and weeks later, people saying to me, "Oh, I'm troubled with my standards and this, and it's not working out for me." And said, "How do you cope when you slip up?" And I said, "Okay, what was your process?" He said, "We led the group, and we all agreed we'd have these standards. Okay, so you led the group, and you can much, shared with people the standards that they should have in their lives and their business and their health and their welfare, their relationships, their money, etc., etc. And I said, that's not in the book. And that's not what I talk about. What I say, if you want to know the best, the basic criterion, level, qualities and rules for your life, you've got to go within. It's more of a, rather than let's brainstorm this, guys, which is what they were essentially doing. It's more of a, I need to meditate on this for me.
Yes.
So when I ask myself, what are the best basis, criterion, levels, qualities and rules for my life in my personal health and fitness, in the environment that I'm in my relationships, in my family, with my emotions, with my career, with my time and money, I need to go within for that stuff. I said, you need to go back to your group and tell them, here's what you need to do. And every one of you will have different standards. There is no like, we all do this. Okay, you can have corporate standards, because there's a whole bunch of work I've done since the book around corporate daily standards. But the idea is when you talk to individuals, these are individual entrepreneurs, it's really about doing that piece and making sure that when you go within, you take some time. Like I had my first 10-second moment. It really was, it sounds a bit of a contradiction here, an accelerated meditation. That's what it felt like, like, oh, I'm in this space. Lots of things are coming to me, but I know I'm in this space. I know I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. And what's coming up for me is my truth and some thoughts, some ideas, concepts. That's what came out of that space. Yeah. At the same time, just as a side point, I seek to hold that space when I'm with another person.
Wow. Because
I also believe, I could be wrong, and I'm not going to be one of those guys to say this is a fact, because hey, I wasn't there when the rules were made, when they're originally made. But I just feel that when we're in our true self space, in a sense, it gives permission for those who are weak to also be in that space.
It pulls them in, right? It pulls them in.
Yeah, and I've had people say to me, I'm talking about in wealth meetings, talking to a guy about his investments, his strategy, his portfolio, his tax mitigation scheme, but then he's saying, I really connect with this, and I really feel that this is appropriate. You know what, Derek? And I've never shared this with anyone before. The guy might be 60 or 70, and go, what you've, and sharing something, because you hold a space for someone. If you've got children, when you're with them, you hold a space for them. And you hold that space for them. And then you hold that space for them in the hope and the prayer that they will be themselves, share with you, especially when they're young. That's great. And it's easy to do when they're just little toddlers. But when they're hitting on teenagers and becoming teenagers, it's more difficult. But you just hold that space in faith that something inside of you connects with something inside of them. And then you've got that deeper rapport, because that's what a lot of us need with our children who are a bit older. And I was learning that over time by sitting down with clients, talking about their wealth and their trust we were creating, all that kind of stuff. And I would hold the space for them, and they would share stuff with me which was nothing to do with money, nothing to do with what you might think they wanted to talk about. And I realized, hold on a second, could it be that everyone, absolutely everyone, is looking for a space they can connect to?
Wow.
That maybe they came from something before they're even born, and they recognize that when they see it in the world. Now, I know people are going to unpack that maybe in a different way. What I'm saying is, what if we recognize this stuff from before we're even born, that we know that connection of the oneness, and that oneness, the true rapport, is when we in our life, of our physical lives, is where we and whoever we're with occupy that space once more, whatever we're talking about. Whether we're teaching a game of basketball, whether talking through your tax position, or a troubled teenager with their girl friends that have messed them around and let them down, wherever it might be. Because I was thinking it must be that the connection I was getting with people is because they were seeking that connection unconsciously. Yeah. And when they recognized this, they recognized it. Yeah. Does that make sense? Or
no, it does. It does. I think there's a lot of truth in that. I'll share a quick story. I went to an event where we were doing this exercise. We partnered up into threes, and one person had to think of something they had done in the past, and they had to stand and really be intentional in how they were at that moment in time.
Yes.
Then the person next to them, they had to try to mimic them. Yeah. So the idea was that this person was in that space. This person had to stand like them in the view that they're trying to pick up off them what they might be thinking and feeling. And then the third person was viewing them to make sure the person was standing accurately and things like that. Yes. And we're doing this exercise, right? And I stand there and I'm thinking, I'm seeing a sky. It's like parachuting. You did parachuting, yeah? And the person's like, look at me, gives me a weird look. And I went, it's parachuting, isn't it? And then, no, it's not. And I went, come on, man, it must be parachuting. Like, what else could it be? And then that's all I kept on seeing was this blue sky kind of thing. And there's like, and then afterwards I said, oh, what is it? They said, it's not parachuting, it was skydiving. and but exactly what you're saying, exactly what you're saying. And then I came across something called mirror neurons, which apparently they allow us to understand what the other person is going through as well. I think Daniel Goleman did a lot of work on that. He's the guy behind emotional intelligence. Okay. And he did some work on mirror neurons. And he's saying that it's those parts of the brain fire off that allow you to understand the other person. So if you're watching a football match, everyone's getting happy, you're getting happy. So the mirror neurons allow you to understand that.
Okay.
So combining that with those two things, from my understanding, right, and what you've just said as well, it's almost like we're, getting into resonance with that person and able to pick up what's going on. So if your presence and your being present is so there, you're most likely going to pull people into that.
Thank you. What he said. Because you know what, JT, what if that's true and we didn't know?
Yeah.
Because I believe that is true, and a lot of people don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what, in my office, I've moved offices a few times, but I write on my flip chart, it's a few words, and it says, "This is not somebody," because people know that I coach and I speak, but my core business is wealth management. I look after funds for high net worth families. So what I realized, this is a people business. Although many people, including some new clients and one or two existing ones, they think it's a money business. Yeah. So at least the last 17 years, when I realized this is not what I thought it was, I've had a flip chart, and I write on that flip chart, this is not a money business. This is a people business. And that's in my office. So whenever a new prospective client comes in, or one that's been a client of mine for 10, 15, 20 odd years, or someone that I'm coaching, or anyone at all that comes in, they see that. And I have it on my flip chart, and over the years, the sun, I've got it's a glass, many glass walls here. And when the sun fades, that writing, I write it on again. So last November, I wrote it again, just to remind myself and everyone around me that even when I'm in here talking about your wealth and your portfolios and your strategies and your tax mitigation, your global assets, whatever it might be, that this is about you, your partner, your husband, your wife, your children. It's about the people. The money's a thing, yes, but it's not the everything. Yeah. You are what this is all about. So this is actually, you know what? A lot of people can do things with money. A lot of people can advise you. A lot of people are much smarter than me. A lot of people have lower fees than me, but it's not about any of that. But they're not me. I'm going to hold this space for you that they're never going to even understand that they need to do that. What if we need to just hold a space for people to allow them to remember that which they came from, that oneness, which is part of everything, that this is a people thing, not a business thing, not a money thing. It's about people. We do the business. We keep our intellectual. We do the transaction. We look after the money. But the premise, the underpin of that, the foundation of all of that is it's a people thing. It's that connection, and what threads itself through that connection, what occupies the interspaces, what is weaved all through that, through every single atom, is love, which is the basis of rapport for me.
Yeah,
it's love. So when we hold that space, what are we holding? You're holding a space of love and connection and truth. And the other pin is love. When you hold that space, talk about someone's portfolio and hoping to understand their tax strategy and why age 70 are then on to their fifth wealth manager. So I know if I take one as a client, you're not going to have a sixth wealth manager. I'm going to stand you to a level that no one else has prior to you meeting me. There won't be another conversation with another wealth manager in the future saying, he didn't get me, or we weren't doing this, or this was working. This is it. If I take one as a client, no, until the good Lord calls you or me, that's what we do.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I remember you sharing that like once in the past when we were doing some work together on that. And that's what made me like think this is it. It's all about people. It's all about people. Everything we do, if we lose sight of that and we go, okay, we're part of material, so we're going to need material things, right? But the thing that keeps us going is that connection, the people, and the reason why we do things most of the time is because of that, isn't it?
It's absolutely that. And how could it be about anything else? I know the world seems to be about other things. When we sit down, take a moment, create a space of truth in our own lives, how could it be about anything else other than love and people? I mean, how could it be about anything else? Just wonder. Because, I realise this is probably back to front, isn't it, for you?
It's a bit. I can't.
You just say this is not a money business.
Oh, that's fine. It's right. Yeah, it's fine.
People business.
Yes.
And when you fail, I write it again. So the thing is, we need to understand these things. Rapport. What is rapport? It's about being in your own truth.
Yeah.
Putting a space for yourself and being in rapport with yourself first. You can't be in rapport with that which is not true. So you need to be true to yourself. Yes. As you hold that space of your own truth, you literally, and this figuratively and literally, give people permission to maybe be in their space when they're with you, which is why they go, we love being with you and love spending time with you in this, because they feel different when they're with JT. They feel different. Sometimes they can't articulate it, and they say the words, but they feel it here and they feel it here, and they know, I'm going to keep coming back to JT for this or to Derek for this because I feel it. And I kind of did some studies on my clients a few years ago, and I read about this in the book. And it turned out that lots of my clients, at the point of writing my book, were very left-brain people. I had a lot of accountants, former accountants, FDs, retired FDs, CIOs, etc. I was thinking, I'm not left-brain at all. Okay, I do the left-brain stuff, but I'm creative, shapes, emotionally, all that stuff. So part of me kind of, my hypothesis, is that the word?
Hypothesis, yeah.
Hypothesis, that was the word, yeah, thank you for that. My hypothesis was that maybe they've been too left and too worldly most of their lives, which is why at 60, when they meet someone who is about something slightly different, that allows them to be in that space to go, I recognize this and I want this. I've been missing this. How can it be that so many technical, really bright, far cleverer than me, mathematically, accounting, all that kind of stuff, when I connect with them, I connect with them at a really deep level. One guy member to me after a few, I think it's maybe about 3 years, he did reports for me, If I meet for him, he gave me his annual State of the Union address on his wealth and the positioning, what they were doing globally, all the rest of it. And I'd look at that and just go, wow. And I'd study it because I knew when we spoke on the phone, that he'd ask me some questions. So I had to know all of it. Because I didn't know what he was going to ask me questions about on his report. And one year, after about 3 years, I'm going to guess about 3 years in, he sent me an email and said, Derek, I'm so glad that I met you. I just feel that we really know each other. And he used, what did he say? Some phrase. We really know each other. Something like we really know each other. And I'm glad that, we made this decision. Something like that. That may not seem a lot for most people. For me, that's him swinging from completely left brain. Sorry, that's my left. Completely left brain, the other left, right through to the right, and just going, I think we've got a connection. I'm happy with this. And then he stopped sending those reports. We just got together, him and his wife and I.
Right.
Talked because they knew that I knew them.
Yes, yeah.
I'm wondering how people are out there operating in the world thinking that it's not about connection, that it's not about rapport. And look, let's bring this up to date now and say that we've seen what's happened, in the Middle East. We've seen what's happened in Africa. We've seen what's happened in Asia. We've seen what's happened in South America and Central America. And we're seeing all of these things happening. And what keeps coming back to me is that this is happening because people are forgetting the main thing.
Mm.
Main thing is that this is about love.
Yeah.
This is about love. The whole thing. Not you mean this bit? No, no. The whole thing is about love. It's about doing it in love. It's about being love. It's about sharing love. So when I see things happening around the world,
Yeah.
question I've been asking myself for the last few years, and including when I did some pieces on Floyd George, 2020, and other people like Elijah McClain, and I kept asking myself a question: where's the love in that?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the love in that? Where's the love in that? Which kind of leads you on to what I wanted to share with you. I say exclusive because no one else, I haven't told anybody else in a platform, is the book I'm working on right now. It's called Where's the Love in
Oh,
That?
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a new insight drop, bomb drop. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. I'm looking forward to that, Derek. Definitely. Do you know, I am conscious of your time and everything, and I want to carry on the conversation. I just want to quickly ask you about, if you don't mind, that you were in Think, that was based on Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And that's like a digital media medium, and just share a little bit about that, how that came about quickly, and
It's really simple. Yeah, I did a little part in a movie called Keeper of the Keys. I had 3 minutes 34 seconds on screen.
Oh yes, yeah.
And that was with John Gray, who did Men from Mars, Women from Venus, and Jack Canfield, everybody knows for his soup. And so I did a little bit, did that film, and then 5 years later, like 2017, 2018, I get a call from the director of photography of that film that said he's now working with the Napoleon Hill Foundation to do a film based on the book with Napoleon Hill Foundation. And he said, I remember what you talked about when you mentioned your daily standards. And now, even if you've got goals, goals don't achieve goals. That your daily standards, how you be, how you are in your day, one day at a time, helps you to achieve their goals or makes you fail those goals. So you were talking about daily standards, and you know that Think and Grow Rich is about achieving goals. But actually, we believe that people need to hear about daily standards to help them to achieve their goals. So we're wondering, as we're making this movie, he was saying, he didn't even finish the question, JT. I'm like, I'm in. I'm like the guy I'm like the Flash, I'm in. Because I'm thinking, can you believe that when I was 21, that someone when I was 21 years old, and chap gave me a book, Dennis Green. I mentioned he's mentioned in my book. He gave me a book, said, read this. It was Think and Grow Rich.
Right, yeah.
But the time before I get to 40, someone saying, would you tell your story and your principles in the movie of that book? So you can imagine, I was kind of kind of blown, but it was the honor to have it recognized by the Napoleon Hill Foundation that what I had to say was adding value to those most impressive works. That's the story to me getting into Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating, man. And there's so much more I can ask you about, Derek, and I know I'm conscious.
We'll do part 2 and 3 then.
Yeah, absolutely. And so any last words before we close off? They want to share about Rapport and anything you want to share?
Yeah, certainly for me, when I looked at the concept of Rapport, I remember going back to must have been 2021. Yeah, because I was due to do the keynote at the British Veterinary Association for their annual conference, and I think we all know what happened. And therefore, I don't know if it was against the rules or it was not advised or whatever it was. They decided to do it virtually instead of real life. Yeah, and I did the presentation. I did it, on Zoom. I think it was Zoom, maybe in Teams. And I did it, and I can tell you, it's probably the most disconnected I've felt.
Wow.
An audience in the whole of my 10-year speaking career, but I just thought, I don't like this. And I'm sharing stuff. I'm like talking to the camera, and as if there were an audience in the room, because I just felt it was it wasn't real, because I know when I'm in the room with people face to face, energy to energy, heart to heart, whatever you want to call that, in that space with them, something magical happens. I get a sense of them they get a sense of me. And it's like, what are we going to do here? What are we going to achieve? What are we going to learn and share whenever? And I like to have a laugh. I love laughing at myself. I've laughed at things that I shouldn't laugh at. And I've realized over many years that's because that's who I am and what I do. So, having a giggle, when I'm on a platform or on stage and doing all of that. And I felt I couldn't be that, was just presenting my presentation to a screen, which is being recorded, so that somebody else, whatever. And I just thought, no, a live audience is better. So the thing that I'm doing, which again, it's so great to have this contact with you at this time, to kind of this improved connection over the years, because I've been sharing this with my team recently, that I kind of get a sense that I need to be out there a bit more than I've been. And I've taken the odd gig here and I've taken the odd gig there and gone abroad and spoken, and was in America last June and other stuff. But actually, I've been saying no to a lot of things. But my own spirit is saying to me, yes to more things. And I realised that when your invitation came through, it was not long after my spirit say yes to more things, to more information, still with discernment. I've done 2 interviews this week. I've got an article to write by tomorrow. So words, but it's harder to write 200 words than it is 2,000. Trust me. For I was interviewed by the Finance and Banking Institute last week, to just get my message out there. So I just really want to say this is that get together with people.
Yes.
Yes, you can meet in the virtual world. You can get to know me through the virtual world, but get together with people. Hold a space for them. Share that connection, open that connection, and see what comes through from that for the betterment of that person's life. What you don't realize, it may be also for the betterment of your life or another person's life or the world, Yes. So that's what we have here. We have an opportunity to make things better in the world. And it starts with, if I can hold a space for this person, isn't like me, doesn't look like me, doesn't talk like me, it isn't the same gender, isn't the same color, so lives in a different space, whatever, that if I can hold a space for this complete stranger, then the reality of it is, as you hold that space, you recognize that this person is not a stranger at all. This is me. This person is part of the oneness. It's when we forget that we break down into factions and groups and me and them and us and all the rest of it. Look, they've proved that we're connected. And I know you like quantum physics as well. And certainly that when we look at the experiments that they've done with the 2 particles, with the entanglement, 2 particles across space, from France to Switzerland under the Centre for European Research Nuclear, or CERN, and they do something with one particle and the other particle responds
that's right.
the other way. And they've done this so many times that they've recognized, hold on a second, these particles that are separate are in fact connected. You can't see what that connection is. And as human beings, we may never understand fully the oneness or the space that we hold that binds us together. But it matters not, we don't understand it. It matters that it is what it is. It is there. It's there, and we need to utilize that. Gravity is there. And a baby doesn't know about gravity. But if it rolls off the couch, gravity will act upon it the same way it acts upon you and I. So these principles are there, whether you know about them or not. So what if this is true and you didn't know? I mean, it is true. And maybe some people don't know, so we need to open up. And I'm going to play my part by getting, kind of more out there and sharing this kind of message and your kind of message, because that's what we need to hear now. With the stuff that's coming out of America, with who and other stuff, and hate in different parts of the world. If this is not the time to share about love and rapport, which is the opposite of what leads to war, this isn't the time. When is the time? So if we don't do it now, when will we do it?
Wow. When we do it. And Derek, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best thing for them to do?
I just drop me an email at derek@derekmills.co.uk, or you can just go to the dailystandard.com website and you can message through there. But Derek at derekmills.co.uk, and let's see what happens.
All right, Derek, on that note, thank you very much. And I hope
God bless
everybody
you, mate.
enjoyed it. And we'll catch up soon, definitely.
Brilliant, mate. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.